Hey everyone, it's Rachel, and today I wanted to tell you about my guitar practice routine. Or more accurately perhaps, my mostly lack of a really structured guitar practice routine. I get asked all the time to talk about my guitar practice routine, and honestly I've been a bit reluctant to do so directly because outside of some warm-up exercises that I do every time I practice, my routine is a lot less structured than you might imagine, and a lot less structured than maybe it should be. Getting this question so often and now thinking about it for making this video is making me think that maybe I should come up with a more structured routine in the future, and I'll get into that in a bit. But first, what does my current routine look like? The main thing I do every single practice session before I start playing at all is I make sure to warm up my wrists. Before I started consistently doing these wrist stretches before playing in the past, I had some wrist issues with my tendons, especially in my fretting hand wrist, but since I've started doing them, I really haven't had any issues, and it only takes a few seconds before getting into playing. So the first thing I always do is a wrist stretch where I put my arm out like this with my hand kind of perpendicular to the arm, and you can just feel the stretch if you have your arm out like this, especially if you turn to face your shoulder a bit. I will do this for about 10 seconds and I will move my hand forward and backward to get a different stretch, and it's been really helpful for me so far. Just doing this simple exercise has made my wrist feel a lot better, and it's made a big difference in my ability to play and not get injured. I'll usually do this for both wrists, but focusing mainly on my fretting hand wrist as that's where I've had the most problems. Also sometimes, but not always, do a stretch where I will pull back each finger on my hand and hold it there for a few seconds just to get some stretching in my fingers as well. And then following that, before I get into any actual practice, I will do a chromatic run up and down the neck of the guitar to warm up both my fretting fingers and my picking hand. So I just do that exercise until I get up to the 12th fret just to get my hands moving. I usually kind of just run it pretty fast because I have fun with it and I think it's a good way to get my fingers moving, but it would probably be better to do it with a metronome and practice at a particular speed. So after I'm done with this warm-up routine, I get into the actual core of my practice, and almost always that's actually just practicing a song or a part of a song that I've been working on. As I mentioned, at this time I don't really have a structured practice routine that focuses on different aspects of guitar playing. I've pretty much learned everything I know through learning songs and through learning techniques through learning songs. Of course, I have worked on particular techniques when I needed to for learning a particular song, but it's not a part of my daily practice routine. So this part of my practice routine depends on where I am in learning the song. If I'm just starting learning the song, I'll either be working on figuring things out by ear or a combination of ear and video lessons, or I will be working with the song slowed down to whatever speed I'm comfortable with and incrementing the speed over time as I get more comfortable with the song until I get to 100% speed. And of course, some parts of the song will be easier than others, so I'll always focus in on any segments that I'm having issues with and just repeat those over and over again and increment the speed until I get to 100. So that is really the bulk of my practice routine as it stands right now. I'll be just learning new songs and riffs and incrementing the speed over time until I get each part down individually. Now, of course, when I'm doing this, I am working on a lot of different things. I'm working on the techniques that are required for the song. I'm working on timing to get things in time with the song. I'm also working on my ear and improving my ear because I'm learning parts by ear, and all of those things do add up, even though it's not a particularly structured practice routine. I guess one more thing to add that I do pretty consistently is I do spend time working on learning things by ear. Even if it's outside of the main song that I'm currently working on, I will typically spend some time, not every day, but most days when I'm practicing, either learning a new melody by ear or learning a new riff. I think this bit of pretty consistent practice working on my ear has helped a lot over the past year. I feel a lot more comfortable figuring things out by ear, and I'm getting a lot quicker at it as well. While editing this video, I realized I forgot to mention how long I actually try to practice with my usual practice routine. So I always try to practice for at least an hour a day, and that's my goal. I don't always hit it depending on what's going on outside of guitar and with YouTube, but that's what I aim for. But it's okay if you can only do less. If you can do 30 minutes or even 5 minutes a day, you will see progress. So that's basically it. That's what my main practice routine has been for the past almost 4 years now. Of course, with YouTube, I spend a lot of time on other skills that are related to guitar and music as well. Like, I've spent a lot of time on recording and improving mixing and mastering and just learning things about that process in general. and also of course on recording videos and recording myself playing guitar, but those aren't a part of a normal practice routine. So I know when a lot of you were asking me for my practice routine, you might have been hoping for a more structured schedule where I kind of block out different amounts of time for different things, but at this point in time, I don't really have one. However, from spending some time thinking about it more and from making this video, I think it would be a good idea to incorporate some more structured practice time into my practice sessions. So I've been thinking about it, and if you're curious, I have some things that I think would be good to incorporate into this theoretical structured practice schedule. For myself, I think the majority of my practice time will always be focused on learning new songs and parts of songs and improving that way, because that's personally what I enjoy, and I've gotten a lot better and made a lot of progress through just doing that. But I think it could be good to additionally add some more structured time to focus on particular parts of guitar playing. So here are some things that I think would be good additions to my practice routine, and maybe some things that you might want to think about as well if you are thinking about your own practice routine. For one, I think it'd be good to schedule some time to focus in on particular guitar techniques. So for instance, maybe spend 5 minutes a day just working on and drilling on hammer-on and pull-offs, and then do 5 minutes of bends and so on. I think that this could be kind of a rotating schedule, so you don't need to do everything every day necessarily, and it might also depend on what songs you're learning. So if you need a particular technique for a song and you want to get better at it, you spend more time drilling on that technique for your practice. One exercise in this area that I've done in the past has been focused on hammer-on and pull-offs, where I basically just go through all my finger combinations and just do as many hammer-on and pull-offs as I can before switching to the next finger combination. The bird. That one gets tricky over a long period of time, but it definitely helps with improving your kind of muscles and your just hammer and pull off ability in general. And of course, the exercises will vary depending on the technique, but the important thing is just to find an exercise that works for you and something that you can incorporate into your routine potentially if you're interested in improving that area of your guitar playing. So another thing I think would be good to incorporate into a practice routine would be time spent on learning and practicing scales. I haven't actually spent a ton of time in this particular area yet, and it's something that I think I should improve at, but I have spent some time learning the pentatonic scale, and I think it would be good to spend more time with that scale and just scales in general. How you spend this time would be dependent on what you want to learn. You could be spent learning new scales, running scales to get more comfortable with them, or maybe even improvising with a particular scale. Which leads me to my next thing that I think would be good to have in a practice routine, and that is time dedicated to improvising. Improvising, like scales, is something that I haven't spent as much time on as I think I should have at this point, and it's something that I'd like to do more of. So I think spending some time, even just 5 minutes a day, just trying to improvise over a backing track would be a great addition to any practice schedule. Now, another thing I think would be great to have in a practice schedule that I'm already doing quite a bit of is working on learning things by ear. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, just learning a new simple melody or trying to learn a riff that you like, that small amount of time can really add up and improve your overall ability to hear and understand music a lot faster than you could before. I've definitely seen results from doing this. I've been getting a lot better at it over time, so something I definitely recommend incorporating into any practice routine. Plus, it's a lot of fun and pretty rewarding to be able to hear something and then figure it out and play it for yourself. I know I've been going into a lot of things here, but another one I think would be good to incorporate would be to spend more time working on finger dexterity through more complicated finger exercises. You can, of course, get better at this just through learning songs that have complicated patterns in them and complicated parts, but just spending some time dedicated to it alone I think would really help to speed up the process. There are a lot of potential exercises here. I just look for guitar finger exercises online, and you'll definitely find some that will work for you and you could incorporate it into your practicing, and this is something that I'd like to do in the future as well. Along with this, it would be good to spend some time just focused on picking, so maybe one day work on alternate picking, one day work on just doing all down picking, one day even just do up picking, whatever sort of picking you need. If you can incorporate that for X amount of time into your schedule, that would probably be helpful as well, depending on what you're learning and what your goals are. Future Rachel chiming in again. Another thing I think would be beneficial to incorporate into a guitar practice routine would be more time spent on music theory. I haven't done a ton of it so far, but what I have done has been helpful, and I think it would be a good thing to incorporate into regular practice. And finally, although there are a lot more things you could incorporate, there's one last thing that I think is important and something that I should do more of, and that is spending time specifically working with a metronome. Now, you can definitely fit this in with the other exercises. It doesn't necessarily have to be a different segment of your practice. You could fit it in with the scale section or with improvising, or really many of the exercises I've just talked about. If you have the metronome on, it will help you improve your timing, and it's another good thing to make sure is a part of your practice. So those are the main things that I can think of now that I would want to incorporate if I were to to make myself a more structured practice schedule. Now again, I don't think that you're required to have a really structured practice routine in order to get better at guitar. I've gotten a lot better at playing guitar since I first started, and that has been primarily through just learning songs and techniques along with songs. So if you're like me and you enjoy learning that way, it might actually be fine to just keep that as your practice schedule, because the most important thing is enjoying your practice and having fun with it, and if that's how you have the most fun with it, that means you'll practice more and you'll learn more that way. But if there are any particular areas of your guitar playing that you know you want to get better at long term, that you're really motivated to practice, it might be a good idea to fit those into some more structured practice time just to make sure that you are making consistent progress towards your long-term goal. So for myself, I'm definitely going to spend some time now thinking about what I want my practice to look like long term and things that I might want to incorporate into my daily schedule. If you have one, definitely let me know in the comments what your current practice routine looks like, or maybe if you're thinking about making something more structured, let me know what you think you'd like to incorporate into yours. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.